Welcome to Journey Through the Universe. I'm really excited to be here and chat about dreams in the Zodiac Part 2. And hello, Alexis. I'm glad that
Hello.
we're doing this together,
Yes,
as
me
always.
too. And it's an interesting day.
Yeah.
The energy is very interesting. But I'm excited nonetheless. Last week was so much fun. So if you guys haven't checked out last week's episode yet, go check it out.
Yeah.
And this is just an exciting topic.
Yeah, this is really, really good. I was really impressed with us and just how we were able to deliver the connection of dreams and the first six zodiac signs, specifically the moon signs.
Mhm.
And because I didn't really know exactly how it was going to flow or what I was going to say specifically. Like I had an overall idea, but I really was like, I don't even know because there's so much with astrology. It's like,
So
you can really get lost in just the depth of it all. So I think we did a really good job of like keeping it structured or like focused. So that was really good.
I agree 100%. Like your knowledge was incredible, and then like there's the way we flowed back and forth. I love that episode. So
Yeah. So how are you feeling right now? So wait, I'll just tell everyone, if you're listening to the replay or watching the replay, today is the day of the Leo full moon. And so, Alexis, how are you today?
I have felt odd all day. I have felt odd leading up to today. Like the last couple of days, I felt really odd. There seems to be a lot of conflicting feelings, a lot of conflicting energies. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the full moon in Leo in Aquarius season. You know, they're opposites, and there is this tug and pull. And I really feel just like this really odd, like, I don't know. It's almost like being stuck in a liminal space, but there's nothing. It's not even a fun liminal space, like being in a dream space. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're just existing. So that's how I'm feeling today. How about you?
Yeah, I feel the just existing that tracks as I was telling Alexis right before we hit live that I just feel meh. Not necessarily in a bad way. I'm not really happy. I'm not really sad. I'm just existing in this weird space. And I know internally I'm really excited because there's been some really amazing things that have come forth for me recently. And I feel that I'm integrating that. And there's also just like it's happening. And it speaks very much to my chart where Leo is about being seen and heard. And I would say like personally having the sun in Aquarius, it's like that is to be seen and to be just witness is kind of hard for Aquarius as the sun is in its opposite sign, right? And so there is that energy of just being the sun being far away from its home, its natural home. And then in my chart specifically, since I'm a Scorpio rising, the sun is in the fourth house, and that is like the point of midnight. So the sun is hidden at that time. So just naturally, there's so many, indicators of just like me being in my little hermit and just being uncomfortable with being seen and heard, but then also as a Scorpio rising, we are rising in a sense to that Leo midheaven, which is, being seen and heard. So, and Scorpio risings are incredibly private. So it's just like this whole thing. And with all that to say, I'm just in the liminal space, like the in between. And it's like really odd. It's an odd feeling. It's an odd place to be.
It is, and I noticed the last couple of days, like even the dream space, we had talked about this before, but the ability to translate what I can experience and see in my head is not able to come through verbally. And
Yeah.
like here and there, yeah, but for the most part, it's like I am experiencing, I can remember and experience the dream, but the ability to translate that from my brain to like outwardly to talk about it or to write it down has been just null and void, like completely just gone. And even my tarot pulls, the last couple of days, my tarot readings have been heavy in one direction, but also like conflicting in the other. So it's like, here's a message of you, you know, on the right path, but here's a message you also on the wrong path. And it's like, again,
Yeah.
I feel like it's that
So
Leo
weird.
Aquarius, like opposite of each other, the full moon being so intense with that Leo energy, and then the Aquarius sun just being, you know, Aquarius. So I've definitely, it's been interesting. I'm ready to move. I'm ready for us to move out of
Yeah.
the
Well,
Leo moon and into
I
Virgo.
would say that the moon actually, I'm gonna have to look right now, but I'm pretty sure if she's not out of Leo, she's gonna be out of Leo by the time we go to bed. So I'm just gonna check
think
here real quick.
actually, I think you're
Yeah,
right. I think
yeah.
she's out of Leo
Now,
already.
at this very moment, she is at 0 degrees of Virgo. So she just entered Virgo probably like 30 minutes ago. As it's about 30, she's at 31 arc minutes. So yes, but
Yeah,
that
and the
energy
moon was in a
was very intense.
the moon was in a void of course today too, from like two
Yeah.
p.m. to like 8 o'clock. So you also had that just like, yeah, it's weird energy,
Yeah,
very weird energy.
it's definitely weird. Um, so Jace is here. Hi,
Hey,
Jace. Hi, Richard.
Jace.
Hi,
Hi,
Christopher.
Rich.
Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
And yeah, we're curious about how your sleep space has been like like pretty much this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yes.
How has it been for you? Alexis and I both have not been really sleeping well. Last night, yeah, I woke up in the middle of the night, but then I was able to actually like fully settle into sleep. But still, it's been there's been a lot going on. So I do also want to point to this coming weekend, actually on Valentine's Day. I'm really excited to see how our dream space is influenced by Mercury moving into Pisces. And as we know,
Ooh.
Pisces is the sign of it is like literally the dreamer. It's oneness. It's like connection to the universe. And I always like really honestly look at Pisces as like source,
Mm-hmm.
as like God, as everything. And so I love when planets transit that sign because it's like I just lean into Pisces so easily, like just the energy of escaping and like going into Delulu. I love that. So I'm really excited that Mercury is moving into Pisces on February 14th. So in 2 days. And yeah, it's gonna be nice for the brain space. I feel like with
Oh,
like
for sure.
Mercury, yeah, having that Mercury Kazemi last week in Aquarius and all this Uranus activity as well is it's been a lot. It's been really a lot. And I've been seeing that wave of energy in the dream space. So yeah, just
Oh,
hang in there.
I also wanted to mention, I almost completely forgot about this. Have you been picking up on a lot of the collective unconscious in your sleep space? Because I have had a lot of underlying themes of like apocalyptic type thing, and I really am feeling that collective unconscious like every single night.
Yeah. I don't know if I have like if I can't point to anything at this moment, but to be honest, I'm not surprised that that is your experience because of your Aquarius moon and like all this Aquarius activity. So that really
Mhm.
makes sense. And as we get into the second half of the zodiac, of course, we're going to touch on Aquarius. And yes, so we're going to share more on that. But I'm not surprised that you're experiencing those dreams. So that's pretty cool.
It's definitely a
And
lot.
yeah. So before we get into the chat, the discussion here between Alexis and I want to share with everyone that we are now facilitating a dream circle, a weekly dream circle. It's a drop-in meeting in which you can come anytime, any Tuesday. So it's Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and you can just drop in. We ask for a donation. It could be as small as $1. We recommend $10, but any donation amount will give you access to these meetings. And the link is in the description of this video. If you're listening to it on Spotify, it is also in the caption or the notes of the episode. So we would love to have you. Our dream circle is basically an open space where we're on Zoom. It's going to be intimate. We only have 11 spots available to keep it intimate and so everyone can share. But yeah, show up and share your dreams, your, thoughts about dreams or astral travel, mysticism, whatever it is in your space, we would love to connect with you and just share so we can actually sit, face to
One
face
on
or
one, face to
right, camera
face.
to camera, and you can actually like unmute yourself and we can hear your voice and feel your energy. So that would be great. We would love to have you.
Yes, we just want to provide a safe space that, like, dream work can be a very intense experience to work through by yourself. And it's nice to have a group. It's nice to have that extra support. So if you need some interpretation, or just want to talk about the unconscious and be surrounded by a bunch of dreamers, join us. We'd love to have
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. All right, so we have some comments here about the dream space. So Christopher says it's been a fucking wreck. Honestly,
Oh
I'm so sorry.
no.
I feel like the energy and mental space equivalent of a 3 week period of time has been condensed into the last 3 days. Yeah, it's been
Yes.
pretty crazy. Jay says I posted some dreams, strange as usual. And Jace is also referring to my website, uraniauniverse.com. I have a forum, and there's a category on my forum that you can post your dreams. The forum is private for members, so not everyone can come and see it. You just have to join my website, which is free, but I do want to just have that, extra layer of, I guess you could say, protection, like an energetic shield. So, not just anyone can come and look, they have to want to really connect and be a part of the community. So that is also an option to share your dreams. And of course, you can email us at theinnerversepodcast@gmail.com or share your dreams via our Instagram profile.
Thank
All
you so
right.
much for
Yeah.
bringing that up, because I completely, like, it's been one heck of a freaking couple months, and I completely forgot we had that space of
Yeah.
sharing. And so I'm definitely going to venture over to your website and share some of my dreams, because it has been way too long.
Yeah. Jace has been dropping some good dreams. There are some really interesting ones. And
Jace, you're always
I,
so
yeah,
good at it.
yeah. No,
You're
it's
always
been
on
great.
top of it.
And he definitely keeps me like logged into that space too. And I shared a dream over the weekend, and it was basically the fortune teller dream that I've shared many many times, and I just put it there just to have it documented on my website, and I just transcribed it directly from my journal. So there were some things that I didn't mention when I tell it, live. And then there's also some things I always like elaborate when I tell live. So it's really interesting to like go back and see what I wrote. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this thing.
Which is
So
why it's so important to write down your dreams, because
exactly.
you can forget small important details. You might have the big scope, the picture is there, but like the little details can slip.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So just to recap a little bit of the chat that we had last week on dreams and the zodiac signs, we are specifically focusing on the pure archetype of the zodiac signs. And specifically, even more specific to that, we're going to focus on the sign, like the moon sign, right? That zodiac as the moon sign. And the reason why we're directing our focus specifically to the moon is because of the moon's connection. One, of course, the moon's connection to dreams is, I
Yeah.
mean, it's integrated. It is, the moon is like the dream space and the astral, and also just the importance of emotion. So emotions, as we've said before, if you have problems or challenges remembering your dreams or just having the time to write them down, if you can write down how you felt in the dream or how you felt waking up, that is everything, because you can literally have dates of, okay, this day I was happy, this day I was anxious, this day I was like, it was a scary dream, whatever it was, I felt scared, or
Yeah.
whatever emotion came up, you'll start to see a pattern. And then just seeing those patterns will really create a curiosity and wanting to know more. And so I feel naturally you'll just fall into writing your dreams even more, right? And getting more detailed and remembering them even more.
Oh, for sure. It absolutely not only triggers your interests, but it also just triggers your memory in general. Like, it's like starting off with journaling about yourself. You start with like maybe a scale of like good to bad, like how you're feeling. And then eventually you're writing down your day to day. It's similar to that with dream work. If it helps to make a scale of like how you're feeling just waking up from your dream, that can also help lead you to actually writing your dreams down and remembering them.
Yeah. Yeah, and emotions, I mean, they give us so much insight just to where we are, like vibrationally, and how we're moving through the world as our emotions and how we feel. Like it incredibly impacts like our movements, the way we move through life. And so it's so essential to pay attention to your emotions, and the our dream space is always providing us with that above anything else. Like the emotions are real, and the way you respond to the dream will give you so much deeper insight too of what is happening around you and within you energetically at that time of your dream.
Absolutely. And especially like in a time period where society isn't the most supportive around like your emotions. We're moving up the scale. We're getting a little bit
Yeah.
better, but you know, society is not really on our side when it comes to like feeling your emotions. So don't neglect them just because the collective is neglecting them.
Yeah, it's like we're taught to repress or
Yeah,
suppress our emotions. And guess what? The best way to access them is through the dream space, through the dream work.
absolutely.
And so,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, yeah. And we all know moon is connected to emotions and intuition and dreams. And so it only makes sense when looking at astrology and the archetypes to look at it from the perspective of moon, and then going from there, going even deeper. So we ended the last chat talking about Virgo. Virgo was a lot. No, Leo.
No,
Leo
Virgo.
was a Virgo. Virgo
Virgo
was
was
the
the
last.
last one.
Virgo. Oh, okay. Virgo was the
They were
last
doing
one.
Libra to Pisces.
Right. So Leo, Virgo. Wow.
Yep.
Where's my mind? Because I was like, I didn't write Leo on here. So whoops, I missed that one. But yeah, that was last week. It was Leo, Virgo. Okay. So we ended last week with Virgo. And so we're going to start with Libra and complete the zodiac. So the way we are approaching this, how we did in the last chat, is that we are going to point to the positive or beneficial qualities of the sign, and we'll also point to the challenging aspects of the sign. And this is again just the pure archetype of the sign. We're not taking in consideration like the rising or the sun, although that might come up in conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
we hold space for all signs, their challenges, their strengths, all of that. So like don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
With this.
they're all about it's all balanced, you know.
Yeah.
It's all balanced. So we don't have any hatred towards any specific sign.
Yeah, we don't. All right, so we're going to start with Libra. And Alexis, do you want to share the strengths and weaknesses of Libra?
Sure. I do have a familiar relationship.
You got a lot.
um, so generally Libra represents balance, like the scales. So doing what you can to get through life, you know, balancing out that, um, creating peaceful equilibrium, tact, diplomat, diplomat, dip. Oh
Diplomacy,
my
diplomatic.
goodness! Yes, I'm not even gonna say it again. I'm not even gonna do it again. Fairness, equality, can see from all sides, so it can lead to indecisiveness because when you're just always like trying to acknowledge every single aspect, it can be difficult to hone in on one thing. They generally can be very artistic.
I was like, oh, that's a new one. Don't shoot the messenger. Okay, so Alexis has a Libra stellium, so she's safe. There's no hate on Alexis on Libra.
And
Yeah.
one of their, because they can be indecisive and because they can take all sides, some of the negative qualities can be coming off very insincere, which I've had people feel like I'm insincere when I'm just trying to acknowledge all of the aspects of a situation. You know, that indecisiveness, and it can have a bad rep. But yeah, that's what I have for that. I'm not going to talk anymore right now because that was
Well, I want to
absolute
ask you,
nightmare.
how do you feel Libra's emotional temperament is? Like how well or not well can they balance their emotions or experience emotions. What would you say about Libra?
I would say it's pretty much in the middle. I would say that the pendulum swings back and forth. When it comes to Libra, you're trying to balance things. So you can come off a little detached. Or you can, push because of that, you can push things away and it kind of all explode out. So it's like really
Mm,
that in between of trying to balance that detached and really, 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 really explosive. And depending on the circumstances, it can come out.
yeah. So, looking at this or considering this in the context of dreams and just how they would benefit of dreams, I would say like that there's always an approach to Libra of fairness, of
Mhm.
equality, or just hearing both sides or multiple sides. So I could see this Libra influence, or say the moon in Libra, there is that ability to just kind of like give space for all the details or maybe more dreams to see if there's a pattern or a theme happening and to
Yeah.
get kind of investigative in that way.
Yes.
But I can see the indecisive nature of Libra where it's like, well, does it mean this? Like kind of overthinking the interpretation or overthinking, yeah, just the meaning, yeah, the meaning of the dream.
I think
And
that, yeah, in regards to that specifically, having a difficult time with trusting your intuition can be very difficult, especially in the dream space. Which direction do you want to go with the dream, especially if
yeah.
you're lucid and you have control?
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I wonder too, no, you're great. I wonder too, as far as like I'm thinking about the people pleaser aspect too, and how Libra always considers like the other, I would say probably to a fault, right? Because it's
Yes.
like, okay, I'm considering everyone else that you forget about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be interesting just to look at the dream from that perspective or see if you see that theme in your dreams or if there's a theme of dream people. Like the way people show up in my dreams, I would feel I think that I should have some Libra placements because like there's always people that I know in my dreams, even if it's on like a even if I don't know them very well,
Mm-hmm.
they show up in my dreams and I feel that my dreams like a lot of the times they are about me. However, when I come out of the dream, I'm so focused on the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just like, why was this person in my dream? What does that mean? What do they mean? Like, and it's, I bypass or I miss the initial like interpretation or the meaning, the message that was coming through. And so I could definitely see that being a challenge with Libra. And like you said, a big one is not trusting your intuition and not being able to just like make a decision like, okay, I'm going to take this interpretation
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it is. Right. And so, yeah, but I think
Absolutely.
overall, like they're very good listeners. They're very good, um, able to see many different perspectives. And so I think that's very beneficial. And it's just like you got to be able to like accept a meaning and move forward.
I
Don't like
agree.
hang on
And I
to it.
think something that would be really beneficial too for a Libra moon would be to find somebody who is interested in dreams and share the interpretation and get their side. Because what
Yeah.
you experience and how you interpret it is one way. And if you don't open up that door for other people to help with your interpretation, the message could be lost because of those aspects. So to reach out and kind of get different ideas and perspectives, it might actually tie everything together much easier and much more clear than trying to do it on your own. And again, I love the suggestion of being investigative with it, taking the last week of each dream and trying to interpret it and all together and seeing
Mhm.
how they correlate, like the larger message rather than the message that comes individually from each dream. I feel like that would be a really fun experience for the Libra moon for sure.
Yeah. All right. Do you feel good with Libra? Do you feel complete with
Yeah,
that?
I thought that
Okay.
was really good.
Okay. So we're gonna move to Scorpio. This is a complex one. This one is
Oh yeah.
tricky as Scorpio in traditional astrology is considered to be depressed. The moon in Scorpio is considered to be depressed.
Mm-hmm.
or in its fall, right? So it's incredibly debilitated. And the way I see that, because I try not to, like, it's never black or white, right? There's always grays, there's always mitigating factors in someone's chart. However, I have a lot of people that I know, like close to me, that have Scorpio moons, and it's intense. It's like
Well,
there's a lot there.
it's a lot there. I mean, you got to think like one, the moon represents emotions, and then you take the emotion and you throw it into a still, dark, never-ending well. So like you're constantly digging and digging and digging and digging, going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And my moon's not in the Scorpio, but having like the Pluto in Scorpio, the Mars in Scorpio, and it being in my first house. So really playing a huge, I mean, you understand too, really playing a huge role in the way we function, like that alone is overwhelming. So then to
Mhm.
have a planet where your emotions are the main focus, the main thing being thrown down at the bottom of that never ending well. Like I
Yeah.
feel the heaviness just talking about it. But I feel
Yeah.
like there's a lot of magic that can come from that too. So much magic. Like if you can kind of like move through, I don't want to say detach yourself, but kind of detach a little bit to be
Yeah.
able to move through and really get the full depth and beauty and magic and intensity of it all. You can, I just feel like there's a lot of magic in that too.
Well, this is also, so it's interesting. I'm seeing you're spot on with this too, as far as like detaching a bit. And it's interesting because I see this connection with Scorpio and Libra, but it's a little bit different, but the expression or the energy is kind of similar, where Libra will they can't pick something, where Scorpio picks something and then they can't let it go. So they go
Yeah.
deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's where that passion comes into
Mm-hmm.
play, that loyalty, that devotion, which is amazing. But when you take into consideration the moon that wants to move through its phases, there's so many emotions to feel and experience within a day, let alone, whatever. Um, it's like the moon will find the Scorpio moon will fixate on something, whatever like draws up the most intense passion or emotion, it hangs on to that. So that's when you get those qualities of resentful, of possessive, of controlling,
Mm-hmm.
all of those really heavy, low vibe, qualities. That's kind of where that comes into play, where there's such a fixation and they're like connected and stuck on an emotion that it's like they got to go deep with it. They have to see what's at the bottom and they have to just peel back all the layers. Like this can't be it, or this, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so the way that that can come through, I can see how that could be challenging in the dream space in a similar way to Libra, where it's like, okay, we have to just kind of let the dream space like unfold and flow and get everything as a whole and not like, focus on the nightmare or focus on, this one thing. Cause I feel like, again, it's like whatever emotional experience is the most intense, that's where the energy goes. And then you
Yeah.
can't move on. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, but I
I feel
do
like,
again,
go ahead.
sorry.
No,
I
no,
was just
no,
gonna say
no,
I
no,
do I do like that with Scorpio, they have that investigative aspect as well.
no. Mm-hmm.
And so that is very helpful. It's just like we gotta, like you said, have to like detach a bit.
Libra and Scorpio are so funny because Libra is like in the clouds, in like the ether, where like Scorpio's at the bottom of the ocean, like in that, like it's such an interesting like combination, especially having like strong influences in both in your chart.
Oh
Of
yeah.
course I'm
Yeah.
talking about myself, but like it's
Yeah.
an odd balance to try to experience that. But when it comes to Scorpio moons and dreaming, I definitely feel like you need a support system to help interpret. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like to be able to sit down, talk about these experiences with somebody you trust and feel safe with, and then blow the candle out after you're done. Put it away.
Yeah, make a ritual of it. That's a good
Yes.
idea. Like
Yes.
Scorpios love ritual.
Yes.
So make a whole ritual of it would be amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, in true Scorpio nature, it's going to probably be one person
Mm-hmm.
that they really feel comfortable because there's so much vulnerability in dream work.
There
And
is.
so that's an element too with Scorpio where it's like, okay, the vulnerability and you can experience it yourself. But I feel like you said, what will be even more beneficial is to have that support from someone else. Like, even if it's not like them giving your interpretation, just them holding space and
Holding
hearing
space.
what you're feeling and allowing you to like move through it and like release it and making a ritual of it seems like as a Scorpio rising, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. Exactly. And, when it comes to
Make
that
it
too,
fun.
I almost feel like people with Scorpio moons might be prone to nightmares because
Yeah,
of the
I can see that.
intensity.
And
And
not being able to
so
let go, not being able to let
learning
go.
learning to lucid dream if you don't already, to gain control of your environment, and maybe even to call in a safety net, call in
Mm-hmm.
a deity, someone you care and feel safe with, an animal that you feel safe with. you know if you're lucid in that dream, or that you're starting to have a nightmare and you become lucid, or you're lucid already, and you can pull in that safety net to help walk with you through it. I feel like that would be really beneficial.
Yeah. If there are any Scorpio moons listening now, I don't think anyone I'm looking at, I know the three people that commented in the chat, they're not Scorpio moons, but I don't know if there's anyone else out there watching us right now or watching later, listening later in your Scorpio moon. We would love to hear how your dream, like, are we spot on or is this like completely like you can, let us know. Let
Yeah,
us know
please
what's
let us
going on
know.
here.
Yeah, because neither of like we have heavy Pluto.
Heavy Pluto.
Thank
Ooh,
you for
Alexis
making
has a way with
my.
words today.
It's, oh God, it's like I have rats in my head. Um, um, you and I both have
Patty.
heavy Scorpio influence in our chart, so we understand to an extent, but neither of us have that moon placement.
Yeah, that
So
moon can be
it's a
a, yeah.
different thing. And so definitely comment and let us know what you think. And if what we suggest has been helpful, we'd love that feedback.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the chat real quick, and Christopher says, as a rising Mars, Saturn, and Pluto Scorpio, I can tell you we do our best work in the dark and shadows, be it helping others or descending deeper into our own thoughts. That's where we do our best. Yeah. And I was thinking about that
Yes.
too. I was like, we're not afraid of the dark.
No.
Yeah. So but I'll say, Christopher, you don't have Scorpio moon, and there's like the moon specifically in Scorpio, there's intensity there.
Yes,
So
there is. There
I'm
is.
just
And
saying, you're blessed.
just thinking about, we're covering our moons today. We didn't cover our moons last week. We're covering our moons today towards the end of this conversation. But you have a very grounded moon, and I have a very like airy moon. And
Yeah.
like, so there is a little bit of detachment from those emotions. Like, not totally, but just a little. Scorpio moon, probably one of the most
Yeah, the most
intense,
intense.
for
Ooh,
sure, for
I
sure.
love it. I love that. I love the Scorpio moon people,
Me
and
too.
I
I'm
see
like,
the
now I
intensity.
want to see who I know who has
Yeah.
Scorpio moon.
I know I attract Scorpios all over the place. Definitely the moons,
Mm-hmm.
definitely the risings, the suns too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like we love each other. We all get it. We just get it.
Yeah, we get it.
All right. So moving
We get it.
forward to Sagittarius, and it's interesting to go from Scorpio to Sagittarius. And this
It
is
is.
like, I love just looking at the zodiac signs or the wheel as a whole and seeing, like, looking at it as like from an evolutionary perspective of going from Aries, where you're very like connected to who you are, being very present with your energy, just in the moment, very connected to your identity and the self and all of that, and just moving through the zodiac. And with Scorpio, there is, like we said, that deep penetration to like get to the bottom of things and to like not be afraid of the dark. So you're going to go in the places, you're going to peel back all the layers, like knock over stones, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just excavating whatever it is that you have to do. And I feel that Sagittarius is the archetype that represents the moment or the energy and experience of when you find that what you're looking for. You're just like,
Yes.
like you've
Yes.
seen the light,
It's
you've
like the
connected with
spark,
divine.
like the spark, and it immediately is like lightness has been entered into the chat room again. Like there's like a giddiness almost, like it
You're
just
like,
like I have
yes.
the wisdom, I have the knowledge. Thank you. Like I'm
Right. And
just
you've
like
been reborn. You've gone
joyous.
through the
Been
whole
reborn.
like life,
Yeah.
death, rebirth of Scorpio. Like you like live like with Scorpio, it's like you live 100 lifetimes, like 1,000 lifetimes. And then you finally are reborn and you're like, ah, oh, okay, I'm a god now. I'm
Yes.
connected to
Yeah.
nature. I'm like, yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel that with Sagittarius. So oh, just backing up to Scorpio, as far as the emotional temperament for Scorpio, I would say it would be like low. I would say like low and high, but it's like extremes.
Yeah.
Um,
Very similar to
so
Libra.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
Libra and Scorpio are, it feels like two sides of the same coin almost. Like the
Well, when
light
you
and
think
the dark.
about when you think about how Venus or Libra's ruled by Venus,
Mm-hmm.
Scorpio's ruled by Mars, and those are like the
Mm-hmm.
opposite energies, right? And then
And
Aries
Pluto.
and Libra are opposite, right?
Yeah.
So they're opposite signs. So you still get and Mars is ruled by Aries, so you still get that opposite kind of dynamic with the Mars and Venus influence. So yeah, and then Pluto,
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, so going to Sagittarius. So the qualities I associate with Sagittarius, just to keep it really brief, optimism is major, adventurous is a big one. They're big explorers. Like I feel with Gemini, they're like exploring like the little bitty things. I mean,
Yep.
they could get expansive too, but they keep it like there's like a locality about it. With
Mm-hmm.
Sagittarius, it's like they're looking up in the sky, like they're like, you know,
Yeah.
connecting with the essence and divine and all things. So
Yeah.
they're
They're going to
very
different countries for their
they can take
birthdays.
risks.
Like
Yeah,
they
they're
take risks.
yeah.
They don't give a shit. Like they really have
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. And so another thing I love about Sagittarius is that they're storytellers. They're amazing
Yes.
storytellers because they freaking elaborate on so many things. I like one of my best friends, we've been best friends for now. This year will mark 20 years, and she's the one who like opened the door to all of this for me. And she tells the craziest stories, and I've been there, and she's telling me, or she'll be telling other people, and I'm like, yo, that didn't happen. Sometimes I'll say things. Sometimes if it's an amazing story, I'm like, yeah, that shit was awesome. But I'm just like, girl, you're amazing, but that shit was not true.
I was just gonna say that it's so funny because I feel like Sagittariuses can pull things out of their ass without even thinking about it and
They
convince an
believe
entire
it.
crowd that it is true. Like if you didn't
They,
know them, you'd be like, "Oh
you're
my
like,
god,
they're
that's
bullshitting you. Like, no,
crazy!"
that
Because
ain't
so
true.
I have to tell this story real quick.
Okay.
My dad is a Sagittarius, and
Uh,
he he has strong fire. He's Sag, Leo, Aries, so he's all fire.
fire shine.
When he was a police officer. One of the When I was first born, one of the first like cases he had to go to investigate. It was really really intense, and in order to like dial down the intensity of everybody involved in this situation, that he had, I can't remember if he had gained a little weight. The woman said something to him, and he started talking dead serious about how he started lactating so that he could help my mom breastfeed me when she wasn't around, and went into detail about all these different things that happen and yada, yada. He convinced not only the people involved in this situation, he walked to the fucking car with the other police officers, and they looked at him and went, "Are you? Is that true? Are you serious? Is that happening?" Like dead ass, straight faced, convinced an entire crowd of this. No issues at all. Didn't think twice of it. Just did it, and that's how he is. Like he is a storyteller, and every Sagittarius I've ever met is a
Really good at it.
incredible storyteller, and I
Really
love
good
it.
at it.
I
Yeah.
love it. At this point, I don't even give a shit if it's real or not because it's fun.
Right. No, it's fun. It's so fun. It's very lighthearted. And I feel like that's the inner, especially with the moon and Sagittarius, is very lighthearted. I would say like the challenging aspects would be like the restless energy,
Mm-hmm.
like Gemini, and they're opposites, right? They're opposite signs. So the restless energy, and they are boundless. Like they just
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of all over the place. Like
Yes.
they, yeah.
I find
And
that people with Sagittarius moons that I know have a little bit of a difficult time managing their emotions. Like,
mhm,
it's like one second they're detached, the other second they're totally feeling it, and then they're
and
neutral
raging. Yeah.
and
I've
raging.
definitely,
And
yeah,
like,
I've
there's
yeah.
no, like, to find that, there's no one way of dealing with it. Like, it's kind of like all, and a lot of rage, that fire
Mhm.
energy with the
Yeah.
emotions. There's a lot of rage.
Yeah. Because they're like they want to be positive about things, but then like you have to feel all of it,
Yeah,
right?
it's not
And
always
so after a while,
possible.
it's gonna come out as like breathing fire.
Yeah.
And so, and there's like an element of overconfidence too
Yes.
with Sagittarius, which is like great when it comes to exploring. Oh, well, I mean, yeah, you still want to have like boundaries and but they're great risk takers. So as far as their approach to dreams, I think they would be incredible. Like they definitely need to write their dreams because I can see how they would elaborate. Like if they don't remember, like if they don't write the dreams down, but they remember.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see them, making up this grand story, which I
Yeah.
mean, hey,
Do it.
if you, yeah,
It's
if
your
you connect to the
dream.
feeling, that's great.
You can have a
Um,
small dream that you make into an entire book, and
I was
you
gonna
do it with
say, yes,
excitement
that's
and
yeah,
fun. But I really think that one of the things that needs to be had with Sagittarius moons within the dream space is allowing the darker elements to show up, allowing the heavier
yeah,
experiences to come through, and allowing yourself to live through them, allowing yourself
yeah,
to experience them, because I think sometimes it gets very addictive to always be lighthearted and happy, and enjoying every aspect, and it can, you can put all of that heaviness into like a sack on your back and carry it around, and it just gets
yeah,
heavier and heavier and heavier. And if,
yeah,
especially if you lucid dream and you try to make all of your experiences in the lucid dream fun, you're not going to
mm-hmm,
be getting those internal messages from your unconscious that you need to work through if you're
yeah,
consistently blocking these things from coming through.
yeah. I definitely, you just made me think of the Ten of Wands with the like usually in the traditional Rider-Waite Smith they have the 10 wands on their back and it's like carrying
Yep.
the burdens like and you've reached a point of like excess.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that particular card is associated with Sagittarius. I can't think of the planet also
Mm-hmm.
that's associated with that, but yeah, you made me think about that. So yeah, I think that as far as their emotional temperament, I would say it's pretty high, like in the sense of like, and high doesn't mean good. Like it can be kind of like I feel that they have a high emotional temperament because of their optimistic perspective. But when they have to feel the heaviness or when something has to be like come out, then it could, be really intense, right? And they explode. But for the most part, I think their emotional temperament is high because of that optimistic viewpoint.
I also want to add in that I do feel like Sagittariuses have the capability to withhold a lot of, or like hold a lot of wisdom. You
Oh
know, like
yeah.
you said, it's like you found
Mm-hmm.
out that thing and now you're like joyous. So, like, there's got to be so much wisdom underlying in the dreams. And
Mm-hmm.
really allowing yourself to feel that, and also allowing yourself to feel a little bit vulnerable, because I do feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's a difficulty I see with Sag moons, is there's a little bit of a difficulty in vulnerability and allowing themselves to share that darkness.
Yeah. Christopher says that for some of them, he has a lot of Sag friends, and for some of them, it doesn't build up. It just starts over into a new quest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I could see that too. Yeah.
I can see
But
that.
then
I
it's
do
like, but
think it
also
catches
that,
up to you over
yeah, but
time,
it will
though.
catch up to you.
Like,
Yeah.
even if
And
it's in your
Christopher,
body.
yeah.
Like,
Christopher, astrology too. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like, when you consider the moon specifically, at some point you're gonna have to like feel that or share that emotion or like release that, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. All right, so Capricorn moon. This is not a happy place for the moon, I'm gonna say. It is the position of or the place of exile for the moon. So if we take into consideration Cancer as the natural home for the moon, Capricorn is the opposite sign, and therefore by that it is considered to be at its farthest from home, right? So it doesn't have
Yeah.
its resources, it doesn't have its full support. Although I could factor in Taurus being a trine to Capricorn and the moon being exiled or being exalted there and having all of its resources. So, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
there is help. However, directly speaking, you're a little bit depleted. The moon is depleted in Capricorn. Capricorn is a cold sign, it's very dry. And so I'm curious, Alexis, of your qualities of Capricorn moon
So my interpretation
or
of
Capricorn.
Capricorn, you have they're focused, hardworking, and very strategic, very self-sufficient, intuitive and grounded. However, I know a lot of Capricorns. I know a lot of people who have Capricorn, strong Capricorn influences within their dream space. And I have to say that they are some of the most intuitive people I have ever met in my entire life. Like some of the people I know who are, if not all of them, the people who have a lot of Capricorn in their chart or like strong influence Capricorn in their chart, they to me have proven time and time again to be more intuitive than some water signs, like even Pisces. Like I'll have Pisces friends and I have Capricorn friends, and I have a lot of friends of different things, but like there is some there is a consistency through every single Capricorn influence I have met where the intuition is immediate and never wrong. Never. I mean, my one friend has almost all of their planets, every single one of their planets in Capricorn. And when I tell you they are the most intuitive person, like Capricorns blow me away. And I don't like the way that they're described
Yeah,
in astrology because I
yeah,
don't think it captures the depth of and I do feel like that coldness, that a little bit of detachment helps with that
yeah,
immediate intuition
yeah,
because there's nothing blocking it. It's like you
yeah,
see it and you know it. And I feel like even though this is an exalted placement and it comes with its set of challenges, I
mhm,
also feel like if you are able to work with it, you can be just like the most freaking intuitive person ever. Like I don't know, I love Capricorns. I love
yeah,
Capricorn. I love Capricorn influences. I am always amazed by their incredible ability to handle everything, their ability to understand everyone around them, to know what to do, to know how to go about every aspect. Like I think that Capricorns really don't get the recognition that they deserve. And it makes sense because right, you think of the Cancer and Capricorn are opposites. Cancer's the
mhm,
mother and has a lot of intuition, and you're like, Cancer has a lot of emotion, intuition, and in touch with that
mhm,
flow and whatever moon. But Capricorn is the father and
mhm,
has almost equal amount, if not totally equal amount, to Cancer, just in a different way.
mhm.
So I just like, I know I kind of went ham on that, but I get a little spicy over the fact that Capricorn can be like poo
Capricorn
pooed by people.
definitely gets a bad rap, especially when people tend to always focus on like money and Capricorn. I'm like, okay, you don't know Capricorn.
Yes.
Um, and I'm gonna speak from a person that I have my moon is in Capricorn and I have Mercury, Jupiter, and Neptune in Capricorn, and my
Mm-hmm.
sun is like pretty much Capricorn and Aquarius. It's literally
The
0
cusp.
degrees of Aquarius. It's
Yep.
cusp. And I think that the discipline, the resilience, the resilient aspect of Capricorn, plus the ambition is like when it's used like very in a productive way, especially when it's the moon and we're considering emotions, like if they're able to get over themselves and the element of vulnerability, like
Yes.
it becomes a superpower, because with the moon in Capricorn, there is that cold and detached experience of it where like you don't get swept away in the emotion. And it's still a receptive sign, right? It's still like, as far as its polarity, it's feminine energy. And so it is receiving, it's the opposite of Cancer. And so it's like with Capricorn, it's no, like it's wanting to protect and to create a space of safety, which is very similar to Cancer. It's like
Answer,
Cancer
yeah.
is creating safety so that their seeds can grow, so to speak, their creations can grow. Capricorn is creating a space of safety, more so I would say for like protection, but also for evolution. And
Yeah.
so in order to be a good protector, you have to be very intuitive, but you also have to be very practical.
Yeah.
And I feel that with Capricorn moon specifically, that's the name of the game. It's like you have to be sensitive, you have to be vulnerable, but it's really good to also have your boundaries, right? And that's where
Yes.
Pisces, for instance, can kind of struggle when it comes to boundaries, because you're feeling it, everything, you're taking everything on. So I
Yeah,
get
it's
really
definitely a more
passionate too.
calculated
It's
intuition.
very calculated.
But
Yeah.
it's so strong, and this is why I get frustrated with like pop astrology, because well, I get frustrated with the way that people use pop astrology with any sign, but I do feel like Capricorn is just one of those ones that gets neglected and isn't as like, I don't know, you have people who are like, oh, Pisces, Cancer, like like just like putting on a pedestal, and then you have like signs like Capricorn where they kind of just like don't even acknowledge it, and it's like this is
Yeah.
an incredibly, I mean, during Capricorn season, I even did a beautiful like how do I explain this? I did a meditation, and it was based around like the half goat, half fish, Capricorn, symbol.
The sea goat. Yeah.
Yeah, a sea goat guiding you through and like
That's
being that
awesome.
bridge of the earth element and the water element, and kind of like bridging that, and so finding stability and strength and like precision, but also being totally intuitive and in touch with everything.
Yeah.
I love a Capricorn. I love a Capricorn
Yeah.
influence. I will never change that feeling.
Me either. So I'm thinking in reference to dreams, I think that the like Capricorn will really thrive at just dream work in general, because they have, like I said, the discipline, the drive, the resilience, they're resilient.
Well, I think that can come in
So
and
they,
be,
yeah.
I think that can be a challenge for them too, because if you don't have the energy to put in every single aspect of that you want to and need to, you won't do it at all. And
That's where
I
I'm
find,
at.
and a lot of depression can
Or
come
the
from that.
writing.
Like
Yeah.
you, when you do it, you want to do it fully. You want to do it step by
Yeah.
step exactly how you want to do it. But if you don't
Very
have
thorough.
the capacity and energy to do it, it can feel like a very strong roadblock, and you can get discouraged really easily.
Yeah. And Capricorn is really easily pessimistic. Like they're really good at negating things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I have been told before, where it's just like I'm an easy like no. Like I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, I feel like as I got older, I'm actually more that way. When I was younger, I wasn't as, yeah, I was very adventurous and stuff. But now I'm like, especially being a mom, I'm like, I don't like, no,
Yeah.
I got a lot going on. So like, I'm good. And but I do get that experience when it comes to the dream work. And it's like Capricorns, they love things to be done well. They're very thorough. They
Mm-hmm.
want mastery. And so if you're going to do a half-ass like dream recall, that's why I struggle with my writing, because it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't just write an emotion. I say it to you guys all the time. It's like, oh, just write your emotion. I can't do that. Like if I write
Really
my dream,
difficult.
It's like I have to write 10 fucking pages and it's
Yes.
crazy.
And
Or I'm
you
not writing at
do.
all.
You
Yeah. And
do.
I
You
do when
write
I do
so
it.
much. And like it's that thing of like, you know what? I need to take my own advice. And if like
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
do the whole thing, then I need to quick write out just a little blip and let it go.
And
Don't
I've
think
gotten
about it.
better. I've written some on my phone and I've also uh I have written like 3 to 4 pages. Like I've been keeping it, like I'll focus on one specific part and I'm like, okay, I gotta write, I have things I have to do, but I'm gonna write this down. This is the most important part. And then if I want to add onto it later, I'll add onto it. I never add onto it later, but I give myself the option.
No, and we also have
Um,
a log of like voice messages where like we can go back to the dreams that we shared through our voice messages because it's very easy. It's much easier to like say, "Oh, this is my dream," and then go and talk for 3 to 5 minutes about it rather than sitting and writing it because that can be it just again when you write your dreams, it's different than talking them out because you're sitting there, you're focused, you're getting every little detail. And so even just voice messaging it and going back when you maybe have energy to write it
yeah,
would
yeah,
be really beneficial.
I agree. All right. And I would say for Capricorn, their emotional temperament is pretty high because of just that resilience aspect.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, high doesn't mean good. I would say neutral is probably good.
Yeah, if you
Because
can find a
with
balance.
Capricorn, they tend to be like, that's the thing. Capricorns, they keep their emotions inside. And so I think that dream work would be really good because it's a personal endeavor and you don't have to share it with anybody. It's recommended that you do. Um, but overall, it's a really good place to connect with those emotions.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so Aquarius moon. Yes.
Hi,
I'm
yes,
going to
me.
share. Yes, yes. Alexis. I was a Capricorn moon. Alexis is the Aquarius moon. And I think Aquarius in general, specifically Mercury in Aquarius and the moon in Aquarius, they are the mediums, they are the channels of the zodiac, specifically connected to the collective unconscious or collective consciousness as a whole, unconscious, subconscious consciousness, and also the cosmic consciousness. So they kind of hold, they're the medium between, yeah, they're the bridge between the two, right? And so for the dream space, this is amazing because they are very open-minded. They are visionaries in their own way. They can take those messages that they receive and the dreams that they receive, and not only can they be creative and innovative for like for themselves, for their own life, but also for the collective, right?
Yes.
Whether it's like, just what you're doing right now, having this podcast right now, like this is incredibly beneficial for the collective as being that channel, that bridge. And so I
Yes.
definitely see that being a strong benefit of Aquarius. And similar to Capricorn, they, as I see both of them, I consider Saturn as the planetary rulers,
Yes.
and they're both very detached.
Yes.
And that is can be a benefit, right? You just want to be balanced with that detachment. And like Capricorn, Aquarius can be stubborn. They are open-minded, but their perspective is also their perspective. Like they'll hear
Mhm.
everyone's perspective and they will adapt if they want
Yes.
to, if it resonates. But 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh yeah, I hear that, and this is what I'm going with,
I
right?
hear
This is where I'm
you,
at.
but it
Yeah.
doesn't relate to me. So like I respect
Right.
how you feel,
But
but
it's
that's
true
not
for
my
you,
reality.
right? And it's
Yeah,
true
it's
for
not my
them. Like
Yep.
they will validate your perspective and be like, that's your perspective for you. It's not just because it doesn't resonate with me, doesn't mean it's not true, right?
Yeah.
That's you. Like we can all fly our freak flags together,
Yeah,
like, right? This
absolutely.
is, yeah, coexisting. Um, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with just the basic qualities of Aquarius.
No, I agree to that totally. And like when it comes to Aquarius, you have to think, great. Um, one of the things that really sticks out to me is that it is the water bearer. So
Mhm.
you are carrying and understanding everyone around you, but the ability to feel can be very difficult because of that. It's like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. And in order to do that, you have to disconnect. And that can
Yeah.
be really difficult with the moon. That definitely requires a lot of balance because when you're that detached, like it can, like I try to, I explain with this that like I feel emotionally constipated sometimes because I can intellectualize how I feel. I know how I feel. I know what the feelings I'm supposed to be feeling are, but to actually experience that feeling is very difficult. And it has to do a lot too, I think, with the vulnerability. Um, the the ability to say, because it's weird because it's like I'm embarrassed to express the feelings by myself. Like it's such an odd thing. Um, but the detachment I do find to be extremely helpful within the dream space because when I'm having an anxiety dream or a nightmare or whatever it may be, I can acknowledge that it's not me. Like it's not gonna hurt me. I don't feel it emotionally. I'm not scared in the sense that I'm going to delete it and move and wake up and like I'm pretty grounded in the dream and I allow myself to disconnect emotionally so I can move through and take in the messages I need to take in.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like there's a lot of weirdness to the dream space too.
Yeah, you have some
And
crazy
it it's there are some things I'm like, girl, where are you going? Like I really feel like I'm just going to different realms or dimensions or whatever it may be because it's just not human. It's not
Yeah.
like fixed in our reality. It's something else. But I do think that one of the biggest issues I have is I'm very sensitive to the collective unconscious. Very. I mean, I mentioned that in the beginning of the chat, I think. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so my overall experience, like think about it like this: the background of every single dream, depending on where we are societally, like if everybody's stressed out about something, like we're all collectively stressed out, then the background of my dream is going to be very apocalyptic, very chaotic, very unstable. But I'm still like going through my dream to find my personal messages and
Mm-hmm.
to kind of acknowledge that this is the unconscious, the collective unconscious, but not make that the center focus of my dreams.
Yeah.
Um, in regards to like writing things down, that also is very, it's really hard to follow rules. It's very hard to be like, this is how I need to be. Like where Capricorn moons
Yeah.
are able to like find that 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 strategic step-by-step list, like able to formulate what they need to be able to sit down and do it. It's like even if I tell myself, hey, you should sit down and do it, the other part of me is like, yeah, and what are you going to do if I don't?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like finding that balance with myself that can be difficult. So I definitely feel like using all of your options for recording dreams is very helpful for
Yeah.
Aquarius moon. If you can't do it written on paper, do it written in your notes, do it written on a blog,
Your
voice message
phone.
it,
Yeah,
call
voice
your friend
notes.
and talk about it, FaceTime back, like wake your partner up and talk about it, like anything that is, just take advantage of it all because you're never going to
Yeah.
find one thing to like, you're never going to find that one routine.
Well,
It's
I
not.
think I think too, like that's I like that you mentioned like following the rules because that was one of the qualities that I had in the challenge aspect was the rebellious aspect of
Mhm.
Aquarius, where yeah, it's just like there's no not necessarily there's no routine because that could be there, but it's more so just like you have to expect that if you have Aquarius moon, I would say 9 times out of 10, your dream work practice, your dreams, whatever, the typical things you read in a book might not apply to you. Right. And this is where the innovation comes into play. This is where the visionary aspect comes
Yep.
into play because it's like you are like you're receiving it differently than other people are receiving. And it's like when you mentioned the water bear, I'm looking at the visual of like the actual vessel, like that the water is being poured out of. So it's not even necessarily touching, like the Aquarius is not even touching the gnosis, the emotions, the knowledge, the wisdom they're receiving, and immediately pouring that into, you know, the collective or into community or whatever that focus is, which is great. And I think that having that balance in your dreams, if you are getting a lot of collective dreams, or you even feel that there's something here to share and that's to be of benefit for others, like having a dream circle is incredible for Aquarius
Yes.
people. And I think it's like we've said that for all of the air signs, right? Like
Yes.
having that community, having that ability to like express from like through your words, right? So it could even be like writing a book if
Yeah.
that's your route. But yeah, I think that with Aquarius, they are one of the signs that I would say would be kind of neutral as
Mm-hmm.
far as like their emotional temperament. I mean, it could lean more into the high range because of that ability to like suppress it, right? Or
Yeah.
repress it. I know I have an Aquarius sign and I'm the queen of crying in the shower. Like that
Yes.
was my nature and my nurture, because my
Yes.
mom was like, I don't want to hear you cry, or you got this time limit. And I felt there was like this weird energy around crying.
Yes.
And so I just always cry in the shower. And it's a whole ritual. It's a thing. It's like
Which is beautiful in
I
its
gotta
own
cry.
sense.
I gotta go in the shower. I've like definitely expanded and like have allowed myself to be seen
Mm-hmm.
crying, but also it's only specific people that I will allow that. Or my
Yeah.
body won't even physically like cry,
No,
even if I
it
did want to
won't.
cry in front of someone. It's
And you
like,
know,
no.
that's a really interesting point that you bring up. And there's something I wanted to the one thing before we go back to that, I wanted to bring up a misconception of the Aquarius and Aquarius moon too, because one of the things that people say is that there is a superiority complex with Aquarius. And I want to acknowledge that, yeah, maybe some Aquarius have that aspects if they're unhealed and they're not working on their own issues and moving through their problems and understanding where they're, you know, what needs work and what doesn't. But the experience that I think leads to that is that when and I this is me personally, like my experience with having Aquarius moon is that I detach myself from the entire collective, but it's not me putting myself above people. It's me standing outside of the window observing everyone,
Mm-hmm.
like almost like I'm a scientist and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just observing and I'm taking notes and I'm acknowledging, you know, this aspect and this aspect and this aspect, but I don't put myself above people. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's where a misconception can come in, is like I can see if you're unhealed, seeing doing that, stepping away. It's almost like stepping away from the collective and watching the collective, watching people
Mm-hmm.
act and feel and do whatever they need to do. And
You're
some
like
people,
literally reading the room,
yes, and
like
some people,
energetically. Yeah.
I guess if you have issues and you don't acknowledge that for what it is, you can feel as though you're better because you're like above that. Like you're, because you're separate, you're above. But like I, with my experience, I just for me it's like I'm understanding people. I'm taking the time to understand people for myself and for them. And then going back to the emotional aspect, you know, because you're the vessel and for the collective, one of the things that works for me to release those emotions is to watch something sad where it's happening to another person, but I can relate because I experienced it, but now I can allow myself to feel it because they're
Mm-hmm.
feeling it. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
again that vessel.
That channel.
um
Yeah.
it's very complicated, it's very frustrating to deal with, because I am a very emotional person. Like I feel things so deeply, and if you're not showing it to certain people, they just think that you're fucking emotionless.
Yeah.
And that's not how I am at all. Like I feel everything and I feel a lot, but to express it outwardly is a challenge. It's a
Yeah.
challenge. But yeah, it's dreaming in the with an Aquarius moon is just fucking weird.
Yeah. And this is like a perfect, again, a perfect example of a sign that would do really well with like sharing their emotions to allow
Yes.
themselves that vulnerability, and yeah, and see what moves you, because you might be moved by someone else's dream or
And
what
do
their
it with
healing
the
process.
yes, do it with the intention that you're doing it to help others because you can't see yourself. Like even the
Mm-hmm.
podcast, like I love this for us, but our our Aquarius, it's like, well, we want to get this out in the world for everybody else so they can heal and have support and grow, and we're, experiencing it with them. But it's that, I don't know, it's just, if you're having a difficult time doing this for yourself, try to think about it as being beneficial for other people. Like
Yeah,
helping out other
that's a good
people.
point. That's a good point. All right, my friends, we are at the last sign of the zodiac. I'm so happy and also, again, impressed that we've got this in 2 episodes. We went a little over,
Yes,
but that's okay. That was
it's okay.
expected.
We're fine.
So here we are at Pisces at the end of the wheel. And as I said, Pisces is oneness. Pisces is like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you even put Pisces into words? It's all feelings and emotions and
Yeah.
energy and just like mush, like everything, just like it's all a feeling.
Yeah.
And so the positive qualities of, as far as like even the dream space with Pisces, is the empathy level, the adaptability of Pisces, the spiritual nature of Pisces. And the challenge could be the escapism aspect of Pisces. And in that sense, they're can be incredibly ungrounded. They don't have
Mm-hmm.
boundaries. So that could be the greatest challenge. So basically losing themselves in what is real, what's not real, losing themselves in the dream. And
Yes.
especially if you have those compensatory, there we go,
Mm-hmm.
compensatory dreams, right? Where they're completely different than your waking reality, right? Because you might be living in an extreme, especially as a Pisces moon individual. And so naturally your psyche will produce a dream that to balance the energy, right? To give you a different perspective if you're like honing in on this extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you either like, then you can lose yourself in the dream, or there's kind of also even possibly an ease of lucid dreaming. And then that whole experience of like just losing yourself and your
Mm-hmm.
like your solid ground. And so I can see the emotional temperament of Pisces being a bit extreme, like extreme high, extreme low. Yeah.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think that there is that aspect of like maybe feeling more at home in these realms, like rather than in the material world. But I do feel like one of the things that can happen is you get so caught up in this experience of otherworldly that you can forget about the material world, and you can forget about the people around you, and you can kind of become a little self-centered because you're living in a what seems like a different experience than everyone else. And I feel like it's just it's a complex place. I think it's a complex place, and a lot of benefits in regards to the dream space. I mean, if you're living mostly in your dreams, like and other what feels like other worlds and other realms, you can take a lot of knowledge and wisdom out. And I feel like maybe one of the issues could be the lack of like definitely the lack of boundaries because of that strong fluidity. So
Yeah.
I guess, oh, this one's a little difficult for me.
As is Pisces.
It's
Pisces
a
is hard
little
to put into
difficult.
words. I would say
Yeah.
though, because I can really relate with my Mars and Venus and Pisces, as
Yeah.
Mars is my chart ruler. And I it's so easy for me to escape. And your dream, like, I mean, when you have those kind of dreams and when you're someone who's an avid traveler, like astral traveler,
Yeah.
astral, like avid lucid dreamer, all of that, it's like nothing really compares to your dreams, even when they're weird,
Oh.
even when they're scary, nothing compares to that realm.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a podcast that we refer to sometimes. It's called This Jungian Life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the hosts on the podcast said this quote about the fantasy and getting caught up in like the fantasy
Mm-hmm.
is that in your dream, in your fantasy, you can have your eggs any way that you like them, but you can't eat them, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like everything's right there, but it's not tangible. And I feel like that discord can create in your waking life some sort of depression. And this is where like the
Oh, for
challenge can come
sure.
come into play, where it's just like, you know, you are connected to so many other realities and you've
Mm-hmm.
seen like what life can be, and like just you feel really connected to these other worlds in a sense, just this
Especially the
experience. You're like, what
moon.
is Earth? Right. Especially the
The
moon,
moon.
where it's
Oh,
like your waking life can feel kind of boring. It's like, well,
yeah.
this is like, you know, and so it might be hard to grasp a sense of purpose
Yeah.
in, you know, your waking life, or just to create that excitement in your waking life, because the
Mm-hmm.
dream, I mean, it's like, you
Yeah.
know,
It
it's
is. It's
wild and
crazy.
crazy.
Like I get a good amount of that experience because a lot of my planets are in the 12th house. But because I have the Libra
Mhm.
influence, there is a balance. There is
Yeah.
a there's I don't know how there's that a little bit of there's that disconnect emotionally. There's that a little bit more it's hard to explain because air is like airy and
Airy, yeah.
watery, and
But
so
it's the logic, because you
there's the
have that
logic and the
logic and
intellect.
reasoning in your,
Yes.
yeah,
So but
to balance that, yeah.
when you have your moon in Pisces, that is such a it reminds me of the moon in Scorpio,
Mm-hmm.
where like the heaviness of Scorpio and the intensity and the depth is so I can't imagine it. It's the
Yeah.
same with
But
Pisces
it's like, I
moon.
feel like Scorpio is down
Down and
and Pisces is everywhere. It's like,
everywhere.
we're
Yeah,
going up
it's
here,
like
we're going down
the
here.
Pisces moon is everywhere. So maybe the best thing for a Pisces to do is find that grounding, find
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
detachment from emotion a little bit. You know, come down to earth a little bit. You know, um, because I feel like it can get it can
Mundane
get
life can feel really mundane.
and honestly,
And
like
yeah.
finding the magic in the mundane is beautiful. So if you're
Oh,
missing
yeah.
out on that
Yeah.
experience because you're bored, like you're missing out on a lot. There
And I
is
think
as
that,
much
yeah.
beauty here on earth as there is everywhere else. So if
Yeah.
you're neglecting completely this aspect, you're losing out on a lot of wonderful experiences.
Yeah. And I think like, yeah, there's that spiritual connection and that magic that Pisces is so just like naturally, it's an instinct. It doesn't even have to be like thought of, practice. It's just that connection to spirit is already there.
Yep.
And spirit is in literally everything. And this is, I definitely feel Pisces individuals are strongly connected to nature, and just like the empathy levels are so strong, so high, that yeah, it's like if you're, you know, that's the thing, like with dream work, it's such a slippery slope because you're traveling and you're
Yeah.
like it can almost be like a drug, almost like that just feeling
Oh
of it.
yeah. Oh
There
yeah.
could be an attachment to it, an addiction to it, and you're living literally, or you're always living in between worlds.
Yes.
And I think that having that grounded aspects, like anything that can ground you and anchor you, is going to be completely like beneficial.
For
And I know
sure.
I don't have the moon in Pisces, but I definitely like my Mars in Pisces pretty much
And
navigates my
Venus.
entire life, right?
Venus
And
too.
yeah,
It's
and
like
Venus too. I have them together. And it wasn't until I had my daughter, like I got pregnant with her at age 35, where I was forced to be in my body. And it was like, even ever since then, it hasn't been the same. And like now I do the dream work as like as an escape kind of, because I haven't really been able to do my like deep trance
Mhm.
meditation like I used to. And I know a big part of that lesson was like, you need to be grounded. This grounds you. You need people and things in your life to keep you grounded and
That's
connected to
so
this reality, because there's something, there's
important.
a purpose here. Yeah.
Yes. I think that Pisceans, they can disconnect from people really easily because they are just like traveling elsewhere and, they have a lot of empathy, but sometimes I don't know how to explain this well, because the experience, but I feel like you can have a lot of empathy, but then you can also be extremely neglectful at the same time
Mm-hmm.
to people's feelings and experiences.
Well, you try to
Um,
turn it, you're trying to like balance it off. It's like probably like a natural, like like what do you call it? Not an like it's a balancing of the scales, even though it might
yes.
happen unconsciously and it goes from one extreme to the other.
Yep.
So I can
Yeah,
see, just like with Libra, people are like, oh, Libras are so balanced. It's like, actually, that's like what they're learning to master.
that's what we're
Like they
learning
go
to
from
do.
extreme, they're literally a
Yes, it
pendulum.
is literally
So
a pendulum. And it's funny too because, when I think of the Pisces influence, like that living in another reality, like again, I have a stellium of planets in my 12th house. So I have
mm-hmm.
a taste of what that's like, where like
Yeah.
I say this all the time. I have one foot in the dream realm and one foot in the waking realm. And it's always like that. But because I have that Libra there, it adds a balance, like a different energy of balance to it, where like I feel like it's a little easier for me to manage that like being in both spaces at once.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, because Pisces is
Having to pick
so
one.
fluid and everywhere, it can be very, very
Typical
difficult to find
Libra.
that balance.
Yeah. I
It's
was just
so
saying like a
weird.
true, like you were saying, as you said, you're happy like living in both. And
Yeah.
like I was like, then picking one, like typical Libra.
Yeah, you
Like I'm
exactly.
good like swinging back and forth. I don't need to really like pick one. I don't have to decide today. Not
no, but
today.
like I don't have to pick one, and there is an easy transition where like I can be in my space, but then I can be grounded, and then I can be in my space and I can be grounded, and even though I'm in two places at once, I'm able to manage it. Where like when you're that fluid and you're that everywhere, you might not be able to find that grounding easily.
Yeah.
You might not be able to pull yourself back. It's a lot. Each
Yeah.
of
It's
these
a
signs
lot.
are so
It's a lot.
complex. Not only that, like we're only covering the moon in these two episodes.
Mhm.
And emotions for everyone is very
We'll have to
complex.
do all the dream planets. We'll
We're
do,
gonna
so we're
do
doing the moon,
all
we're
the
gonna do
dream
Neptune and
planets
Pluto.
because
Pluto.
it is I think this is incredible, will be incredibly helpful for
Yeah.
people who are looking for this type of work, or like
Yeah,
learning to
absolutely.
integrate into this type of work, because understanding, so you have like the experiences that you go through as a human, but then you have these other, like, astrological aspects and all these other things, and really merging them all to be
Hmm.
one is the like ultimate goal throughout your life. Like it doesn't happen sometimes to sometimes it doesn't happen. You don't find that integration and you die, and who knows what happens after that. But like the goal is to like integrate all of these things as tools and lessons to help you figure out who you are and where you lie. And like
Yeah.
having this just a little bit of guidance to move you through at least this aspect could be incredibly beneficial. Incredibly beneficial.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I just went on a tangent there. Sorry.
no, it's all no, it's on point. I just want to add Jace is here and is the Pisces moon.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that, yeah, I do feel a bit better in the dreamscape, but I know the material world is important. And it's like returning home when I dream though. So yeah, like you just like, you
It
need to
is.
find the balance. Like we're speaking in extremes here, of course. Like not
Yes.
all of us like
No.
not everyone's going to experience extreme, but like these are the important things. Like with Pisces, you have to have that solid ground.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goddess for my Capricorn, because that did
Yes.
help. Although I was still escaping, but I had a ritual of it. I had a
It's easy
routine
to escape with
like
that
thing.
influence.
So yeah, so I feel really good with this. Everything that we shared, this is a perfect example of why it would be so much fun to join us in Dream Circle, because we can go deeper with your astrology. I mean, you have an astrologer here as a host,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
have an avid lucid dreamer who's been you've been lucid dreaming since you were 3.
Yeah.
And so you have someone who's a master like at dreaming and dream traveling and all of the dream work, and you have someone who's a master at astrology. And so if this is something that fascinates you, you should definitely meet with us this week, or actually next week, February 18th, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time is our next meeting. But we can go deeper with this if this is something that inspires you or piques your curiosity and you want to
Yeah.
consider the other influences in the chart. Yeah, we'd be happy to share that with you.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah. So I feel I feel pretty complete with this. I think we did a great job, and I really appreciate everyone who is here live with us in the chat. Those of you who listen, the listeners, like I tune in. I love just like being a witness and sharing, and yes, and holding space. Those of you that comment, we love you too. Thank you everyone for just your support and your kindness and just being on this journey with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Our ultimate goal with this is to really allow people to get in touch with their dream space and to understand how important it is for their day to day and evolving as a human and whatever else, like we need to integrate this aspect of ourselves in order to find kind of like a wholeness, like you're given so many tools and so many messages through this dream space from your unconscious, if you practice with deities or gods or just your higher self, there's so much that comes through, and we really really want to put this out there for people to feel comfortable exploring these realms. So yeah, please join us. Go sign up, and we hope to see you there.
Yeah, so we will be here live again for a live chat on the following Wednesday.
The 19th.
That will be the 19th. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
the next day, math. And yeah, we would love to see you there as well. So thank you, everyone. We hope
Thank
you
you.
have sweet dreams, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, sweet dreams. Bye.
All right.